There's some questions I have based on this. Let's start with the social tools. So my first question with the social tools at the start was, why give us all these teasers if there was nothing coming in like particularly soon? So all these teasers in the 2 teasers that we've had in the loading screens suggested something was coming quite quickly. That's not really what I got from this. What I got was there's 4 phases. They didn't tell us what phase 4 was, so maybe that was a misspeak. But phase 1 is what's the only thing they confirmed coming for 2026. That is the Comlink app, friend and foe stuff, chat app, notifications, and they talked about moving to a regional chat rather than the whole shard. The questions are, when does the party finder come? When does phase 3 come? Org stuff, management. When creating orgs in game, like org markers. When is any of that happening? VoIP was a separate thing. My take from that was that VoIP wasn't coming anytime soon because they're talking about working on it, much more in the background. Let's go to the big things coming soon, I suppose. Crafting and inventory. The questions around crafting are, they've basically said that they're aiming for crafting to come in 4.7 in March. No guarantees. My questions around that are, so currently the way it works is that the only way that you can see what was a crafting recipe was to go to the fabricator and click through the different things and click. You have to physically be at a fabricator, and if you're going to look at a crafting recipe, obviously you could just screenshot it or write it down, I suppose. But obviously in the long term, they need some sort of mobiGlas app that you can have your blueprints on and look for the recipes, look for what you're looking for. So my question is that going to be in the first drop? I doubt it. So it's going to be quite clunky, I think, crafting maybe. And then the other thing was be in the tech preview, they just gave us a load of blueprints, like 180 of them. Will in 4.7 we have to go and find the blueprints, or will they just give us them all again? Like for me, I think a lot of the fun for this gameplay loop will be the collecting of the blueprints themselves in loot boxes at the end of mission chains. What are they going to do for this first drop? I hope that they don't just give us everything, because that the thrill of finding a blueprint in a high value loot location, I think will be quite fun. I hope they don't just give us everything. And then obviously they talked about the fact that inventory is coming with that. They kind of have to come together. That's going into the tech preview next week and needs to come with crafting, like I said. That again is aiming for the March patch. I guess my question around the inventory is, often what CIG do is they make something, and say the star map. The star map came out, the update to the star map. Initially, I think people were like, oh, this is a big improvement to the old one. And then they just stopped. They haven't really done anything to the star map since then. My question is, how finished is the inventory really going to be? Is it going to be actually good enough for the game? And are they going to keep working on it? Or will they just move on to some other UI thing that they need to do? Like, I really hope that this isn't like a shove it in the game and forget about it. I imagine it's going to require ongoing work, and I guess the question is, will they do that? They have done some internal quasi server meshing testing internally. So the idea is that between what we've got now, static server meshing, and then dynamic meshing, they're doing this middle ground thing that they're calling sort of dynamic server meshing. That's what I should say, actually. Dynamic is like a bridge between, I think somebody said in the chat, between static and full dynamic. They've tested it, and Beniot did mention that there's a cost element to this, as in they wanted to reduce their server costs so they can spin down servers when nobody's on them and save them money. And the question is maybe around this. Will we see this in tech preview in EU Kati testing at some point this year? They talked in the letter from the chairman about the idea of dynamic meshing. I think what that really meant was this. It wasn't full dynamic. It was this kind of in-between version. Will we see this in testing? I guess so at some stage. Other big things they mentioned and questions, they talked about the transport system, which is like the elevators and the trains and everything. They're replacing the transit system with the transport system. This will go into tech preview pretty soon at Area 18. The questions around this is, when will this be done? Because this is a blocker in some ways for instancing. So they said that instancing, in order to get into the instance, you have to use the transport system. And so until that's done, well, instancing can't happen. But they seem quite confident on the instancing, so maybe it won't be that bad. They talked about instancing. Siege is still scheduled for this year, the Siege of Origin event, and they are looking at the idea of like unlocking certain instance content by like getting a key or a key card. It will be probably in Star Citizen from a different mission. So this, again, the mission system, how it all works in, and that we're maybe speculating that maybe will that come in July. They want to fit in everything they showed at CitizenCon in 2025 in 26. It's all scheduled for 2026. So that's it. Another thing they obviously showed was at that CitizenCon was Nix 1. They talked about the idea that Genesis, obviously the Planet Tech stuff is coming. They are talking about the fact that Starkitect is going to come with that, and also the Population Manager, which is kind of a new thing they've not really talked about. It'll all come together. That's supposed to be quite exciting from their side of things. That's quite good. And then maybe the big last thing to talk about and questions will be around wipes. They basically said they don't want to talk about this stuff outwardly because they don't want to give anything away. They also said that in the past they didn't really have a process for like exploits or anything, but now they hinted that there's maybe a strike team on it. They're working on everything in the background. They said there won't be a full wipe. There will be targeted action. So that's not a full wipe. That's money wipes and ship wipes maybe. We did a quick poll. Prepare your eyes. It's going to blind you. And the people watching the stream, so like 130 of us or whatever, voted. And I personally am thinking maybe they should do a full wipe, would be my opinion on this. But generally people were saying no. 60% of people said they shouldn't. I wouldn't be that upset if they did full wipe at this stage, but they obviously are not going to do that for whatever reason. So they were the big things from Beniot. It was a good one. There's lots to talk about Battlecruiser. I guess my other bonus question is, how big is the Battlecruiser? Jared said it was big, very big. How big was it on this scale? And that the Battlecruiser is coming as a concept sale at Invictus in May. So how big will the Battlecruiser be? Will it be, this is a Bengal here, if you can see it. This is a Javelin here. That's an Idris. So where will it fall? Some people are saying they think it's going to be as big as Retribution, which is obviously absolutely ginormous. So we will see where we fall. But I would say I'm pretty excited now for 4.7. Year of features. Thank Chris. Exactly. Apparently this is going to be a big change from 2025, where it was just content. This is going to be content every other month with the patches. But it's also going to be feature stuff getting shoved in the game. How buggy it will get, how broken the game will become this year will be an interesting question as well. Like, will it completely fall to pieces as they shove all this new feature work into the game? We'll see. But the rest of 2026, as the original question was up here, I think there's a lot of interesting things and fun things coming.